Shut up and sit down.
Right. First things first, let's get these chrome wheels cleaned off. And what we're going to use is a bit of oven bright. So I've got some of that in a pickle jar. So we'll pop the lid off. Obviously, if you've got young kids, keep it in the plastic jar, but you know, my kids are in their late 20s now, so I don't have to worry about that. Let's get me spudge up, and then we'll just give them a bit of a drop in the old oven bright. It's quite gloopy stuff, so they may need a bit of persuasion to settle in, so I tend to put my bits in like that. And I'll give it an agitate and it sends them to the bottom like that. See? Because they're super gloopy. And as you can see, the oven bright will start biting into the chrome, and it'll get rid of all of that. So in no time at all they'll be as clean as a whistle. So we'll leave them over there out the way. So I'll move me bottle off the bench. What was we gonna do? I know. Should we build a roll cage for the interior of said Mustang? So we want to put a roll cage in here, as well as chop these side panels ready to go in the car, so that the dashboard can be mounted at the front there, and then lose probably along where this post is, so that this piece goes the other end where the rear seat would be, and none of this is used. So I'll tell you what, should we cut that now whilst I think of it? Because whilst I'm building the roll cage, that could be gluing into place. Now I keep all these little bits of sprue, reason being, or the reason will become apparent in a minute. So let's slice that pretty much parallel along there. So we'll get the old saw out on that. Like so. And that's the piece I want to keep. Okay, because there's a tab that is on the edge of the dashboard. Just there. That will locate in there. When this is glued to the side of the car, the dashboard will sit in there, see? So we don't need that little bit anymore. So we lose that. We want to keep that bit. So clean your whole saw blade. Good little saw this, by the way. A little Amazon special. So yeah, actually probably cut that with a set of nips might be the easiest option. Right along there, and then come up along that crack. There you go. See, and that gets rid of all of that, and then we can get that smoothed off with a sanding stick as well. Don't need any of that, and then we can just lose any of the edge that I don't want. And again, I want this to look as if the guys at the prison have gone in and gone, right, let's get some weight off the car quickly, and yeah, So we can whop them in place in a second, I reckon. Shove them all just to one side, and then we can get a bit of gloop and a couple of glue holders on the bench. Shove the oven bright. Actually, that's right there. One of them for a minute. And we can then glue that in place. Quite a bit of gloop in there. And get that in situ. About there. Not fast about going too mad with the glue, by the way, or will become apparent, because we've got a roll cage going in here and, dare I say it, detritus, dirt, all kinds of gubbins, so don't worry about going a bit mad with your glue. If you are doing one of these, you're probably not, but like that. I think. Oh. Here's what we want. Let's just check with a dashboard in situ. Like so. And like so. Like that. That's what we're going for. So I reckon we could probably use the dashboard as a bit of a resting aid on there whilst that all cures. So we'll pop that over there, shove that there. Right, we want a block of roll cage in here. Now if you remember rightly, I said about keeping hold of spruce. As I've been chopping bits off, I've gathered or garnered some spruce. And what we're going to start looking for is shapes. So let's get rid of all of those. And I'm looking for shapes that are going to fit the contours of the car. See, so I'm going to look for a square, a rectangle, and then obviously start building down tubes. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking for. So I'll just sit and look at the sprues and the gap I'm looking for and move them around a bit. I've already decided I like these two little bits here. Yeah. Because when the car doors open, the roll cage dips in very slightly where the door opens, right about there. Goes tight to the seat, but when the door shuts, because the door's got supporting bars, it goes into this cavity. Now what I'm thinking is chopping these back, and then that will sit just slightly in, like that. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So that's a good bit. Let's keep that, because that's going to be used for the roll cage. Not going to worry about the chrome bit just yet. But already I'm seeing a couple of potential winners here, shape wise. Let's just try and untangle that, because that's, yeah, about as much use as a chocolate fire guard. So let's throw them out of the way for a minute. See, so that shape's looking promising. So I'm gonna just lop off that bit and start dropping it in against the roof. Now look at that. That's pretty close, isn't it? So I already know that bit about there. Lose that tab. And then we are going about there. Reason being is that will then drop in like so. So I don't need that bit. I need a now, even, I now need a piece to come across and fill that area like so. Right, so I'm going to go for a nippage there and a nippage there, a nippage across there, and then all of that across there is going. Because I don't want none of that. That's a piece of the kit, so we want to keep that. And then we're gonna start working our way down so we can come down there, possibly lose that bit and lose that bit because that's a piece of the kit, and straight away we're beginning to be able to fill in like so. So that's what I'm looking at coming up with. So I'm going to lose that bit like that. Okay, we can then lose that and these two like so. And like that. There you go. And then we're going to go bosh in there, and then bosh down there, like that. Yeah, that's what I reckon. So I thinks that we can get a rather battered sanding stick. My God, poor thing. Actually, that's not gonna go undo it, is it? So let's get the old nippers and give that a bit more of a dung over. Like so. Like so. Like so. Come over the way. And start working that out. That can go in almost to that point there. Yeah, see? So we're beginning to get a roll cage. So we'll do a bit of deft filing on some of these bits, I think. And like so. And then we need to just suss out now where it's going to go in there. We want to round that off. I'll just use a little bit of the old goo in the corners just to get it to initially bite. just in there. And another one in there. Just give that the initial look of a covered bit of bar. Because we got some down tubes to go as well. And the same with then that one. Just to get them bit in place. Here's what we want. Like that. Okay. Now we can start with the down posts on the roof pillars. So we'll again look for shapes, and straight away that one's looking promising. So we'll come up the way like so, and have a little looky look, and straight in like so. See, and that is another bit of roll cage in. Just enough to get her to hold and dry is what we want. And I want it so that when the door opens, it's visible that there's a roll cage there. That's what we want. So let's give that a bit of welly. Like so. Cool. Here we are beginning to get a cage. So we want to do the same with that one. Come along like that, and it's going to be the same process, mate. Straight down there, and straight on there. With a bit of the old spruger. come in there with a weld line, let that all dry off. And that should shrink back then enough. And then we want a diagonal now. Try not to knock the camera, Cole. About there, so that worked, didn't it? I reckon about there. Should do it. Like that. Not a bad little eyeball job, was it? Like that. And then we can what in the Sprogo. We got ourselves the beginnings of a roll cage. So we can come down now. We now need to work our way down the side of the vehicle along into there, so I reckon we can get a few interesting bits going now. So bear with me whilst I chop away at this. I'm seeing a shape that I like around about there for each side, and then that come along like so, about there. Perfect. Like that. So I'm going to replicate that on the other side. You'll see it when it goes together, what my eyes saw. Just jumped out at me, so I know what I've seen works, so we'll lose all of that. We'll lose them. I want them. Like that. So I reckon we can get a shape in there. What just forms along there. So I'm gonna take about an 1/8 off. Little bits now. Just to get that the shape I want it, which is about there. Like that. See what I'm going for? Yeah. So we just want to taper that. Like so. Bingo. And there. In there. I reckon we can go there actually, so that we clear the wheel and the wheel arch when that goes on the car. Like that. just for now. That can go there. And then do the same the other side. Let's drop a taper on. Like so. About an eighth off. Like that. Go. We have got the beginnings of a roll cage. Like that. We'll let that dry and see how our wheels are doing in the oven bright, I reckon. Let that settle down a bit. See how they're getting on, shall we? Oh yeah, they're beginning to go. Yeah, it's beginning to break through a bit, so yeah, I think we can safely say that that can be left to cook. In them. So hopefully when we come back all of that chrome's gone, so it's just beginning to agitate off. So yeah, sometimes bleach can do it as well, but Oven Bright hasn't let me down yet. So I'm going to pause, cup of tea. We'll come back and we'll do a bit more on this. I think we can get the seats looked at. I've got a set of resin seats that I've printed, so I think that they'll be looking at going in as well, so we can make a bit of progress on that, as well as looking at how this cage dries off. But at the moment I kind of want to let that dry now. So we'll pause there. Right, I've had my cup of tea and we've taken the wheels out of the Oven Bright, and as you can see, that has taken out all the chrome. So we've de-chromed them. So I'm happy with that. So they can go and live back with the other stuff for the moment. What else have I done? I've added the steering wheel pedals and the gauges to the dash initially, and I've just made a little notch each end of the dash, which will become apparent when it all goes together, because the 8-post roll cage just slides through there beautifully. I did a test fit, and considering I've been doing this by eye, I was pretty much over the moon with the way everything popped together, to be quite honest with you. It fitted like the proverbial glove. So yeah, I'm happy as a noggin slot. Glued my seats in. I used a bit of CA glue for the resin seats, and I just wanted to pop them in with the console there, just to start getting some bits and bobs in place. And then I've made a tiny little bit of a roll cage here, and then when this clicks up to marry with the car, these two posts will tightly rest against this post, so it creates the illusion that it's one cage. And then these are the two bits that notch around the dashboard, or the dashboard notches around them, should we say, somewhat like so. See? So yeah, all in all, it's beginning to go quite nicely. See, and then the dash will drop in the tabbage there, and then go against them front two that we said, and that's your door opening. Now I'm gonna use some of the spare decals of all the different gauge options, and I'm gonna make some additional gauges just to go up on the dash in various places. So I'm gonna use them on some styrene, and then chop the styrene and then sort of mount the gauges here, there and everywhere, and try and create something that looks a bit busy for that. What else? I think we can make up the door cages in a second, and perhaps trim out these ones as well. If you remember, I want to use the step-in piece to come along here like so. So I think we're pretty close to that now, to the point where I think we can start with a bit of chopping. So I'm gonna go for it around about there. A resounding pa-ching. Like that. And then we'll come in and we'll just go for a tight bit of gluage along there. Alright. So yeah. So I'm gonna whop a little bit of CA on the receipt, roughly where that's gonna go, and it's just literally above that rivet is where it's gonna go. So we'll drop a bit of that on there, because I want that to bond pretty closely to the seat. Like that. Try not to stick it to your finger, no, Cole. Yeah. Just like that. It's a bit bronzed. I don't want it bronzed, do we? And then we can start lopping on a bit of the old glooper. suits herself. Grab oneself a bottle of gloop. Like that. It's kind of what we want. Let's drop a little bit of the old Festa fin in there. Like that. And then let that cure, and then we'll do the same the other side. And then once we've got that cured, we can then nip off this little tabbage. Like so. Like so. And like so. Just like that is what we want, and I actually prefer that one because it goes right in there like that. In there. Try not to do what Festa does with super glue and get it all over himself and then glue himself to the model. See? And then we can lock that off like that. They're right on that side. Let's level them a bit better. Lose that bit. And level that a bit better. Like that. And then I reckon a little daub of spray goo, and then we can leave that to cure. That's what I reckon. Can whop the dash in place as well now, because it's not going to hurt. It's where I need it to be now, so I might as well throw that in place, because all the gauges I can build off of it. So, being that we're beginning to take shape, we can have that in place. Like that. And then a little blob along there. A blob on there. Yeah. That's as good as that's gonna go. So that can dry. I don't need none of those bits. So we can successfully drop that in there for the time being and let that cure now, and then I'll come over it with the airbrush, give it a bit of the old beans and give that a coat of primer, so the next time you see that, that'll be primed. And that just leaves me with the doors. So let's have a look and see what I can come up with for those. For the tubing, something a bit more skinny is what I'm after. What do I go for? Let's drop a bit of that in there. I'll just try to build them up similar to what we've got already in there. So it's going to be done by eye. So we want two of those. Because one of them's for the other side. Let's lock the old Festa fin down. I'll try and get these on the go now, nice and rapido, like so. And all we're doing is creating door tubes. Yeah, that's what we're doing. And then when this is all primed, it'll just give the illusion that the door has got a bit of reinforcement in it. That's the aim anyway. I'm at the bottom of the other side. Like so. Like that. Just in there. Like so. Actually attach it to the door. Just like so. And then do a down pipe. About there. Just like that. And you may be wondering why I'm using goo on this one, because there's a curve in the door, which means there's a gap I need to fill. That's it. So what better way? A bit of spruger. Just like that. Hey. We've now got cages within the doors. liking that. I don't know, I can probably put a diagonal in as well. So we can lose a bit of that off of that edge. And put a diagonal brace in, like so. Here's what we want. Just to try to give that impression of strength. So let's bit of go on there. Just have to move it so that I can see it. Apologies, but there you go. See? And that's what I want. Just that impression is what I'm after. And then a bit of go in there, go along there. Just like so. That is a bit of a cage going on in a door. Yes, I hear you say. Let's shove that there for a minute and get another little bit of tubage, because I want to do the other one, don't I? Do you, Cole? Yeah, I do. I want to do the other one, folks. I just need a little bit for the back of that one, just to neaten it up. He says optimistically. Try and get something to knock that in place. Measure twice. Cut once. Right. And then we can finalise that in its spot. With a bit of gloop. Like so. And like so. And that is the cage in the door. So when the door is open, you see a bit of roll cage going on, like so. Alright. So the other one of those, I'll undo. Let's make sure that shuts properly. Yeah, it does. Try not to put too much pressure on it though, because I don't want to wreck what I've just put in place. That's better. So we've got the other one to do now. Should we do it now? Oh, if we have to, he says. So let's swap a bit of glue in there. And shove that up above the hinge. Like so. like that. Yeah. Get you a bit of the old roll cage in the door action there, like that, see? Yeah. Here's what we want. Let's go for that option of disguising it, I reckon. See, that was an easy decision, wasn't it? Yeah, Festa, it was, mate. Don't all answer me at once. Let's grab a pair of the old emergency tweezers, because I can't get my clumpy great hands in there. Here's what we want. And then I can go down the way and then put a small brace bar in and have this as a slightly different variant of the similar door, if that makes sense. So they've had different bits of tube on this one, and they've had to do it slightly differently to the other side. That's good enough for me. And it also saves me having to take that out, because yeah, it's glued in quite nicely and it's doing no harm. So if it ain't doing any harm, why change it? Dunno, Festa, I hear you ask. Why change it? Exactly. Big old larrapin in there. And in there. And a bit along there. And that is us up to speed with that. So I think our next stage is going to be a bit of paint. That's what I'm thinking now. And I'll do it without setting up. Well, I say it without setting up on the... Yeah, I'll do it without setting up my booth, because I don't really need to. I'll probably just have a little box in the background like so, and I'll just mist into that. Probably be the option I'll use to get that painted. Yeah, so I'm just going to let that dry for a while. I'll pause, I'll come back, and then we'll prime it up, and that'll be this episode sorted then. Alright. Right, that's that primed, and yeah, brush is cleaned. So we've had our little interlude there. Let's just have a move around and a shufty. Frankenstein's had a prime. So have the wheels. Couple of the discs for the dio. Just a quick skim coat just to take the white bits off. We've got a slightly moist interior, the underside, and then obviously the car body as well. Yeah, so it's had a bit of a primey pops. So all of that is now going to be left to thoroughly dry. Just put my primer away. Let that thoroughly dry now for a good day or so. And then I can come back and start going over with the brush, detailing everything, and start the ball rolling on the interior, getting that where I want it. And then I can start putting sub-assemblies together and slowly start building this little bad boy up. now that it's primed, I can start beating up the inside a bit. So I'm going to have a think on what I'm going to be doing on that, and whilst I'm thinking on that, this lot will all be drying. So that's the plan. There we are. I know, Festa and a plan. Who'd ever have thought it, eh? Yeah, I'll get me coat, shall I? So let's just whop all of that safely out the way so that I can still see it all. Because I know what'll happen. I'll pack all of this away and then I shall forget about it. And I want to quickly get the other episode filmed as well and in the can so that I've got a bit of an archive. So when we come back, which will be the next episode now, we'll start going round and detailing stuff and having a faff around. So some of it I might paint off camera, some I'll probably paint on camera. It's just going to be literally going round and highlighting different parts of the car and detailing it up. So nothing majorly different there. The build up of the dashboard I'll film. It's just going to be extra instrument panels and clusters that will be decaled and dropped along the top of the dash, and some hoses, letter O's, hoses from the NOS bottles going round and that sort of stuff, and then start detailing up underneath some bits, because I've got the armour plates to go on under here and all, so I want to get them secured and get that all detailed as much as I can before I join the halves together, and then it'll only leave a bit of seam blending along the sides. So that's the plan. So I'm going to have a cup of tea, get this edited and up there on the YouTubes for you to all to have a giggle at, and oh my god, what's he doing to that poor car, he's ruined it. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, and the customer knows what they want and they're happy, so I'm happy. And I'll see you all for the next episode. Take care, stay safe, stay at home until it's safe to go out. That's all I can say. Bye bye for now.